Good afternoon. My name is Sable Myers, and this is my submissions for the Week 2 assignment research case study. So today, we're going to be talking about two different cases, the New York Times Company versus Sullivan and the Gertz versus Welch case. So the New York Times Company and Sullivan first argued January 6, 1964 and got its final ruling March 9, 1964. Now, L.B. Sullivan, which is the plaintiff, sued the New York Times Company defendant for printing an advertisement about the civil rights movement in Alabama that defamed the Public Safety Commissioner, L.B. Sullivan. So why did Sullivan feel like his reputation was damaged? Well, L.B. Sullivan felt his reputation was damaged by the New York Times ad because with him being one of the 3 elected commissioners of Montgomery, Alabama, and during his role as commissioner, he had duties of supervision of the police department. So the statements made in the published ad about the police department claimed that there was quote-unquote police action allegedly directed against students who participated in the civil rights movement. The statements that were made Sullivan feel the ad referenced him, even though he was not directly mentioned, but because of his police involvement. Some elements of defamation, libel, and since Sullivan was a public official, what did he have to prove in this case? Well, the elements of defamation, libel mentioned in this case are factual error, content defamatory of official reputation, and they both are sufficient to warrant an award of damages for false statements unless the actual malice, knowledge that statements are false or in reckless disregard of the truth is alleged to be proven. Now, the plaintiff had to prove that the statement must show that it was made with knowledge of or reckless disregard for falsity. So what was the ruling? Well, initially, Sullivan was awarded $500,000 in damages by the state Supreme Court of Alabama. The New York Times appealed, so that became the U.S. Supreme Court's judgment. And their final ruling, they ruled in favor of the New York Times. So free and open debates about the conduct of public officials, the court reasoned with, and was more important than occasional honest factual errors that could damage or hurt officials' reputation. So the next case is Gertz versus Welch. Now, they first argued November 14, 1973, and it was decided almost a year later, June 25, 1974. Now, the magazine owned by Robert Welch, the defendant, attacked the reputation of attorney Elmer Gertz, the plaintiff, by publishing false accusations attacking his character. So, who are the parties in this case? And was the petitioner private or a public figure? Well, the plaintiff is Elmer Gertz. He is a well-respected attorney in the district, and Robert Welch, the defendant, is a publisher for the American Opinion magazine. Now, the petitioner in this case, which is Gertz, is a public figure. What were the alleged defamatory statements about Gertz in the American Opinion article? Well, the alleged defamatory statements about Gertz in the American Opinion article were that the petitioner was a Leninist and implied that Gertz had a criminal record and labeled him a communist fronter because he chose to represent clients who were suing a police officer. Welch claimed that Gertz had been an official of the Marxist League of Industrial Democracy, originally known as the Intercollegiate Socialist Society. So what was done to confirm the accuracy of these allegations against Gertz? Well, according to the court documents, Gertz appended editorial introduction stated that the author had conducted extensive research into the Richard Nuccio case, and he was included in the article with the photograph of Gertz and wrote Elmer Gertz of Red Guild harasses Nuccio. Now, the respondent placed an issue on the newsstand knowing that the information wasn't verified, and even issue reprints in Chicago. So did these allegations really affect Gertz's reputation? Well, I think as a reputable attorney, these allegations affected Gertz's reputation tremendously. Maybe not then, but I know in society today, people believe what they read or what they see on the blogs and social media before anything. The allegation against Gertz could have tarnished his credibility as a good attorney, which could end in people not wanting to hire him for his services. But the ones who know Gertz and knows the kind of person he is, they won't really judge him. Overall, I think Gertz's reputation was affected, but maybe not as permanent tarnish where he couldn't represent any clients anymore. On the other hand, Welch's reputation probably was tarnished a little bit just because of the statements he made. So what would I have done differently if I was Welch to avoid the lawsuit? Well, first I would have verified and confirmed the statements 100%. And I even would have probably tried to set up an interview with Gertz just so I can get the accuracy of the statement. It's always a lot of he say, she say, and gossip and everything. And I think journalists really run to just writing up something quick without really verifying the information. So I most definitely would have did those two things. Now, Georgia's defamation law, because I am in Georgia right now. In Georgia, the elements of a defamation claim are a false statement about the plaintiff, a communication of the statement to a third party in the absence of a special privilege to do so, falsity of the defendant amounting at least to negligence, and harm to the plaintiff unless the statement amounts to per se defamation. So how can I relate to what I learned today? And how can I use that for future works in the industry? Well, I can relate to what I learned and use it in the future by always confirming the information I receive. Even if it's coming from a third party or from the public, I want to verify the information and confirm it before I publish it to anyone. I always want to be honest, especially if I'm seeking to do an interview with an individual. I want to be honest about the story at hand and what might be said in the publication. So I want to earn that trust with the individual. And lastly, I want to be aware of my audience. I want to know their emotions and how they view what is being written. A lot of writers don't really care about their audience, so I want to make sure I take my audience feelings and emotions in consideration. Here's my references. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.